we are going to make some chicken and ranch fried sandwiches. So we're gonna kind of do a nice chicken ranch or ranch seasoned coating on our chicken, and we'll fry it up and serve it on a brioche bun. We're gonna make some zesty ranch home fries, and then we'll make a salad with some homemade ranch as well. So got a theme of ranch, 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 because that is my favorite dressing. So let's start by getting our home fries up and ready so that they can start kind of cooking up. So I've got 3 good sized russet potatoes here, and we're gonna do these in, fry shapes. So I'm gonna first start by kind of going down and cutting them, through so that we have kind of the thickness of a fry, and then we'll cut them off to make our fries. And just try to get all of the potatoes roughly around the same thickness and size so that they'll all cook up fairly evenly. You don't want some to get more cooked than others, or vice versa, undercooked. Okay. We'll do our next one. We'll slice these through, and then we're going to make a lovely coating using some oil, flour, ranch seasoning, a little bit of onion powder and garlic salt and black pepper to season up our fries, which will be just lovely. Give that the ranch seasoning gives it a nice kind of zesty flavor to it, which I think just brings everything together. And then we'll have ranch dressing, because that's one of my favorite things to dip French fries in. Okay, one more potato to go. And then, since this is an awkward shape one, I'm just going to kind of cut off my base here, and then we'll get going on it. You can always peel your skins off if you don't want to have any potato skins on your French fries. When I do them in this, I feel like you don't get too many with that much skin on it, so the kids don't really mind it as much, and I love potato skins. I think they're delicious. I just feel like, I was trying to figure out what to do for dinner tonight, and I was like, you know what, Saturday nights, they feel like a, either a hamburger or a fried chicken sandwich night with fries. They're just a nice, delicious comfort food. Nothing bougie. Okay, we've got our potatoes here all cut up in our fry shape, and roughly all the same size. We're gonna put them in our bowl, and then we're gonna toss them up with all of our spices and seasoning on them, and then we'll get them in the oven on the air fryer setting to kind of cook up and crisp up.
Emily says she likes all the gnomes behind you.
Oh yes, I am a big fan of gnomes because they're like the American or the English version of a tomten, which is like a little Swedish elf that helps out. And so growing up, we had lots of tomten around our house, and now you can get gnomes that are pretty much the same thing. And so every time I have them for all seasons too, not just for Christmas, but I'm a big lover of them. We're gonna put in about, I wanna say maybe, 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil, enough to kind of coat all of the French fries or the potatoes with it, but it doesn't need to be glistening. And then we're gonna add in about, I wanna say maybe 2 tablespoons of flour. And again, that's gonna kind of make a little batter base to these, which is gonna give them that nice little crust on it, almost like a steak fry. And then we have ranch seasoning. We're gonna add in about, I wanna say like 1.5 tablespoons of ranch seasoning. That's gonna give it this nice zesty flavor. We're gonna add a little bit of garlic salt, a little bit of onion powder. I will say it was like 1/2 teaspoon of garlic salt, and we're gonna do about 1 teaspoon of onion powder. And then we're gonna do 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, just to give them a little bit of pop. And if you like them more spicy, you could throw in some cayenne pepper to get that for you. And we're gonna go in and we're gonna just toss our potatoes in here until they're kind of mix that oil into the flour and the ranch seasonings and have each potato nice and coated. So it's gonna give you those like almost like those battered French fries, those seasoned steak fries, which are just so delicious. But you make sure you have them all coated up. There we go. So everyone has this nice little seasoned paste on it. Now I'm gonna get my big baking sheet here, and we're gonna lay our French fries out on here. I'm just gonna dump them all out, and then we'll layer them to where none of them are touching each other. Gracie, no barks. Okay, so we're gonna spread these guys all out.
You got a question? What oil did you use?
So I used olive oil on here to kind of coat them up, but you can really use whatever oil you like. You know, peanut oil is always a great one with French fries, but since we're kind of doing these on the air fryer, kind of crisping them up, you know, whatever you like. I wouldn't do a coconut oil though, because you're gonna get that coconut flavor in it, and that's just not gonna play well with these. So just make sure you've got no French fries or none of your fries kind of like on top of each other. You know, they can be a little bit of an edge to it, but you do want them to get as much space as you can so that they crisp up on all sides. There we go. And this is why I like using, this is like a 1.5 sheets, so it's a really big baking sheet that fits the whole width of the oven, which is nice for when you want to have just that top oven setting, because that's really what cooks up the best. Okay. These are good. I'm going to wash my hands. And then we're going to go pop these in the oven at 425 on our air fryer setting. You can also use convection bake at 425. And that kind of does the exact same thing. This one. There we go. And I'm going to set my timer for about 15 minutes. And then it should be about done, and what we'll do is, if we're close to it, I'll shut my timer off, shut the oven off, and you kind of leave them in there in that heat, but not in that direct heat to finish them up. That way they stay nice and warm and golden and crispy and everything. Okay, while those are cooking up, let's get our chicken ready to start frying up. So I'm going to move this over here because we'll make our salad and ranch dressing next. But let's get our base for our chicken that we're going to season it up with made. So I'm going to put in about 2 cups of flour. And then we're going to use about 2 tablespoons of ranch seasoning. Or you could use a whole like packet of ranch seasoning. And then we're going to use about a tablespoon of garlic salt. We're going to use a tablespoon of onion powder. We're going to do about 1.5 teaspoons of dried oregano. 1 teaspoon of paprika. This will help give it a nice kind of golden color. I'm going to do around 1 teaspoon of black pepper, again, because I want that pepper to kind of pop, almost like a peppercorn ranch, but not as strong. And then I've got about 1 teaspoon of Mrs. Dash's table blend. Now, ranch is the main base of it, but I do like to have other base seasonings in there because ranch isn't enough to give it all that flavor. I'm going to mix this up, and then we'll dredge our chicken, and then we'll mix in some seasoned panko breadcrumbs. But Let's get our spices mixed into our flour base. And I always season my dredge, the first one, because that's what's really gonna stick on to our chicken. So you wanna make sure there's lots of good spices in that first layer. Here we go. So that should be nice and mixed up. And then I'm gonna use 4 eggs for mine. I could probably get away with 3, but I'm gonna err on having enough. Always err on the having more than enough than having too little, because you don't want to have to go in the middle of the dredging process and make more, like crack another egg or make more seasoned dredge. So I always make sure I have more than enough. Okay. We'll pop each yolk, and you're just gonna whip these up until you've got those yolks mixed well into those whites. You don't wanna leave any long stringy pieces of egg white, or you're gonna get, when you bread it, it will pull up and you'll get this just soggy bit of chicken when you fry it up. So make sure you've got it really well mixed together. Okay, that should be good. Now let's go and get my breadcrumbs open so that we can start on that. And I'm gonna get my oil heating up for this. Now, I'm frying it in there, but you don't need to have so much oil that you have it completely submerged. It just needs to be enough to kind of have it halfway, because we will flip it to kind of cook it on both sides. So I'm using a 10 or a 12-inch frying pan, which means I need a little bit more than if I'm using a smaller frying pan. But I'm going to put in about 1 cup to 1.5 cups of oil in here, and I'm going to start heating it up on high to where it's hot enough that when I put a drop of water in it, sizzles right away. And then when I go to fry my chicken, I'm going to turn it down to a medium. But let's first get our chicken filleted in half. That way it's also going to kind of cook up a little bit faster and allows you to get a nice perfect golden color so it's not so thick. And because we're going to be having these on a like a brioche bun, I'm going to cut them to make kind of 8 chicken patties. Otherwise, these would be ginormous. And also knowing that the breading is going to cause them to increase in size as well. So I can get out of 2 good size, now these are fairly big chicken breasts, but I can get about 8 chicken sandwiches out of them. Now sometimes you get the smaller ones and you can't get quite as much, but these are pretty big. And if you see any fat, just trim it off, because again, it's just will get rubbery in our end product. And since we're filleting them, you don't need to hammer them out. These will stay nice and kind of tender. Just make sure when you fillet them, try to cut against the grain, which will leave you a little bit of shag, but it cuts those tendons and will make it just more tender. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go each one into our dry dredge here, our basic dredge, and we're gonna coat it up. And try to do this with just one hand. Leave one hand clean so that you have a hand to work with. And that's just like a mental game. You know, when I first started like dredging up and everything, and I would always go with 2 hands, and then it was like constantly going back and forth to wash my hands anytime I needed to do something else. If you leave one hand clean, then you can still work around your kitchen and turn the heat up or down, pour in the panko breadcrumbs, kind of get you where you need to be without having to run back and forth. So into here. Now we've got them all kind of coated up with our first base. And use your clean hand. We're going to add in about 1 cup of seasoned panko breadcrumbs. These are Italian style, which I think add a great flavor to it. But you can also use plain, or regular breadcrumbs or crackers, smashed up crackers. So we're gonna mix these up with it. And then now we're gonna go into our egg mixture and then into our nice panko mixture. So coat it up. And what happens is that first dredging allows those egg to really bind onto the chicken, which then kind of creates that like edible glue that holds our second kind of layer on. And it prevents it from, falling off when you fry it. So it's really important to do that initial dredge. And you don't want the panko breadcrumbs in the first dredge because they won't hold on to your chicken well, and so you'll just end up losing them. And then I'm gonna test my oil here in just a second. I think we're getting pretty close to it being nice and hot, and then I'll turn it down to a medium heat. But you always want your oil a little bit higher when you first drop your chickens in, and then bring it down, because the temperature of the chicken will bring the temperature of the oil down. So if you have it right where you want to cook it at, you're actually going to be bringing it down lower. So let me get a drop of water, because I might be able to put my first 4 in. So what I do is just a little drop of water. It sizzles right away, almost. Needs a little bit longer. Then I'll put it in, maybe like a minute longer, we'll get to it. It's starting to pop now, so I'm pretty fairly close that we're gonna be there. So I'm gonna turn it down to a medium, right around a 5. And we're gonna drop our chicken in. And you can see it's sizzling right away when we put it in. Whatever you do, do not put your chicken in cold oil. That will not give you a nice crispy fry up on it. That will give you a soggy chicken. Here we go. And we'll let those fry up while we bread our last 4. And then we'll go make some homemade ranch dressing, prep up our salad, and get ready to eat. There we go. So we've got it in there. Again, press it down. Kind of coat it up. Now I always use panko breadcrumbs because they're so convenient, but there's so many different things that you can add in to give you that crunch. All will give you a different unique flavor, but you can do crushed crackers, crushed corn flakes. I've even heard of Rice Krispies being used, potato chips. So there's a lot of different ways you can get that nice crunch on it for a hand-breaded one, which is different than a battered chicken, but there's a lot of different ways. Now let's get our last one in here, coat it up. And then we're gonna just completely get it up, and there we go. And now that I've got my breading done, I'm gonna go wash my hands, clean up my area just a little bit. But this is why it's also important to you have one good clean hand, which allows you to clean up yourself a little bit better.
Okay. Can you go over the seasonings for the dredge?
Yes. So we have on here, we used about 2 tablespoons of ranch, like ranch powder, a tablespoon of garlic salt, a tablespoon of onion powder, a teaspoon and a half of dried oregano, a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of paprika, and a teaspoon of Mrs. Dass's table blend, which is kind of like an everything spice for it. We've got our chicken over here ready to pop. I'm gonna get my tongs out for when I'm ready to flip it, and then we can start working on our salad dressing, which I'm gonna need my ranch over here for that, and I'm gonna get a little black pepper for it as well. So Making homemade ranch, so much better than any one bought in a bottle. And now I say this is homemade, but it's like semi-homemade because you are using the ranch powder, and you can make your own ranch powder using a bunch of spices, but this is more convenient. We're gonna start here, and I'm gonna start with about a half a cup of mayo. Just look to see where it fits in here. So half a cup of mayo, and this is gonna make about a cup of ranch dressing or so, which should be perfect for dipping and dressing our salad with. So half a cup of mayo, and then we're gonna do a half a cup of cream with a squeeze of lemon juice. Now, if you have buttermilk is wonderful. If you have just whole milk, that's fine too. You can use it. But do put that squeeze of lemon in it regardless, because it's going to give you this tang that's just going to bring up the flavor. So we want a half a cup of our thing. So kind of equal parts cream to mayo. You can also use half and half. So various. A thinner one, again, would be with milk versus the cream, but the cream I think makes a really good dip. I've got my lemon here. We're going to juice up half, put it in here. This is going to kind of react with the cream and almost turn it into a creme fraiche, which is like a homemade sour cream base. The acid in the lemon kind of curdles the cream, but it gives you that tang.
You have a question? Do you have any gluten-free recipes?
I have like recipes that just don't use any flour in together for it. Since we don't eat gluten-free, I don't have a lot of gluten-free recipes unless it's just naturally occurring. But I will say for a fried chicken, you can do almost one similar to this, but you use almond flour, because I've done it a lot with my fish and and it works really, really well for it. But I don't have a whole lot because, you know, we just don't eat gluten-free because we don't have any like allergies in our family. Okay, I'm gonna give this a good mix up. And you can see we've just got this nice kind of really thick base to it, which is just lovely. Because you want a nice thick and delicious one. I'm gonna see if I can squeeze any more lemon juice in here. Because you want to get that whole half of that. And you want to use fresh lemon. You can't use that like true lemon or the liquid, any of those. Those just don't have the right flavors. It's got to be fresh. There we go. And then we're going to put in about 2 tablespoons of our ranch powder. But before we do that, our fries are calling us. But I want to check my chicken here, see if it needs to be flipped. That's looking pretty darn good. Beautiful. And again, with your fried chicken, go low and slow. That way it has a chance to cook it all the way through before you burn your crust. Now let's go grab our, well, we're not going to grab our fries out, but we're going to look at them, see if we need to add any more time, but I think I'll just need to turn off my oven. They are looking pretty darn good. So they're almost, yep. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to give them a quick toss, and then we'll pop them back in the oven with it off. So I'm gonna turn off my oven, but we're gonna toss them so that they kind of crisp up, but then we'll keep them in there so that they are nice and doing. So just grab a spatula, and we're going to slide it under, and then I'll put them in there. So they probably need like 2 more minutes of cooking at a nice high temperature. But if you turn it off and leave it in here, you've got about 10 minutes of wiggle room to work with, where they won't continue to cook them at a higher thing, but they'll soften them up and keep them nice and warm. So just kind of toss them up first. That way, but you see how we've got these just wonderful crispy edges on it? They're going to be perfect. And now we're just going to keep them in our oven with the temperature off. But I'll just pop these in on there. And make sure your temperature's off because you don't want them to cook anymore. You just want them to stay nice and hot with that kind of, you know, that keeping them warm and crisping them up just a little bit more. Okay. Let's get our spices in here. So we're gonna add in about 2 tablespoons of ranch powder. That should be not good. And then I'm gonna add in a half a teaspoon of black pepper. Again, not a whole lot, but enough to give it a little bit of a kick. I'm not crazy. Some places you'll get a peppercorn ranch and it's like so peppery. I like it a little bit, but not super, super. Let's give this a good mix up. And you can see, look at this just delicious, thick, and creamy ranch dressing. Give it a quick taste. Perfect. The lemon juice adds the perfect amount of tang to it, which just makes it so good. Now, if you're using buttermilk, you don't have to add the lemon juice, but if you don't have buttermilk, we're gonna use this. Let's get ready to take off our thing. I need to restock my paper towels. But we have enough here to get it. We're gonna place our fried chicken on our paper towels to soak up the extra grease when it's ready. That way it stays nice and crispy. You don't ever wanna keep it on a flat surface because it will sit in its oil and it will take your crispiness and make it soggy. I'm gonna see how much longer they need. I think a few more minutes, like a minute or two. I'm gonna rotate, and then we should be good on here. Okay, let's whip up our salad here. So again, I just have a base of romaine lettuce, so just a bag of it. And then we're gonna do a really simple kind of garden salad here. We've got cucumbers, sweet peppers, red onions, and avocados. I would throw in tomatoes, but we had a frost earlier in this week, and all of my tomatoes, I should have gone out and picked them, but I didn't. They all got like frozen in the frost, and it just ruined them. And I was just thinking, same thing with my figs. My figs weren't ready. They were so close to being harvested, but the frost just ruined 90% of them. It made me so sad. So we've got our cucumbers, so throw in our little baby cucumbers, and then some sweet peppers here. Add a little bit of crunch and just a little extra for our garden salad. Let's see if our chicken is ready here. Beautiful. So again, place it grease side down. That way it stays nice and crispy. So beautiful, nice and golden brown and perfect. That paprika really adds in an extra kind of pop of amber color to it. There we go. We're going to put our next batch in. And don't overcrowd when you're frying, because it will take everything a lot longer to cook up, but you're more likely to like burn it in spots and it just won't turn out as nice. So make sure, you keep it at a perfect like spacing. I always like to leave, like at least a ½ inch between each piece of chicken. That way the oil can bubble up and crisp up the sides around it. But you see how just they're like perfect for a little sandwich. They've got the great sides to it. Okay. Let's get our sweet peppers, the rest of them trimmed up. We'll get some red onion in here. And then we will be able to serve up dinner. Just a simple thing. My kids are always like, oh, can we go get Chick-fil-A? Can we do this? I'm like, I got Chick-fil-A at home. I can make it here. We don't need to go out. But for some reason, they're like, it's not the same. And I'm like, but my food's better. But, Yeah, you can't reason with a kid. They want the McDonald's no matter what, even if you can make a better one. There we go. So we got our sweet peppers in there. And then you don't need a whole lot of red onion. I'm just gonna trim it off. I always say I don't use red onions I use them mainly to be eaten raw. You don't wanna cook them. They lose all their kind of flavoring when you cook them up. But one red onion will last you forever. But always having one is just nice.
When you get a second, can you go over the breading for the chicken?
Yes. So we started off with 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and then we added in 2 tablespoons of ranch seasoning, a tablespoon of garlic salt, a tablespoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of oregano, and a teaspoon of Mrs. Dash's table blend. Mix all of that up, dredge your chicken, and then after you've dredged it the first time, you're gonna add in a cup of panko breadcrumbs for the next one. And then you dip your chicken in the egg and then into the panko breadcrumbs for that second crust, which makes it delicious. Okay, let's get our avocado on here. Now, if you ever want to make an avocado ranch dressing, you would throw in your avocado, but instead of using lemon, use lime juice to bring it up and mash your avocado in there. And you just use a little bit less cream and a little bit less mayo for it, but it gives you a lovely like avocado ranch dressing. So we're going to peel off our skin here. And if your avocado is nice and ripe, it should just peel off really easy away from the avocado. That's how all the restaurants give you those really pretty little like cut up avocados. They don't scrape it out, they just peel it off, and you can see you've got that nice smooth avocado. So we'll add our little sliced up avocado.
And can you go over the salad dressing?
So the salad dressing, yes. We started with a half cup of mayo, a half cup of cream. We added in the juice from a half a lemon, and then we mixed that up, and then we added in 2 tablespoons of ranch seasoning, and then a half a teaspoon of black pepper for it, and it just gives you that perfect kind of tangy, zesty buttermilk ranch taste for it. Get this chicken flipped over here. Let's let that one flip a little bit more. I'm gonna rotate. And then we can go grab our fries out of the oven, and we'll be ready to kind of serve up our dinner here because we've got almost everything prepped and ready. So let me grab them. Remember, we turned the heat off so they just have their kind of residual heating for it, which will make them nice and toasty but crispy. These are our ranch seasoned fries that we battered up with flour and onion powder, which gives them this kind of golden brown color to them. And then we flip them halfway through to give them an extra crisping on all sides. Again, you just have these beautiful, crispy, zesty ranch fries. And we added in our ranch seasoning on that as well, just to give it that pop of flavor.
Mary Sanchika.
Oh, well, thank you, Mary. We appreciate that. I'll flip this guy over. Okay. While those are finishing off, I'm going to get ready to plate up. Okay. Let's get our tongs for our salad. And let me get a plate. Pretty easy, pretty simple. but delicious dinner. And who says you can't have a fried chicken dinner in like, 30 or so minutes? Okay, you're gonna start with your brioche buns, and you gotta do brioche. They're like the best. Make sure none of them have a little jack bite out of them. Okay. We're gonna start with our brioche bun. We've got our hand-breaded ranch seasoned fried chicken where we added in 2 tablespoons of ranch powder to our base of our seasoning plus panko breadcrumbs. We're gonna top this with a nice dollop of our homemade ranch dressing because again, ranch is the best thing. So we've got our beautiful chicken ranch sandwich. We're gonna add our zesty ranch home fries that we seasoned also with our ranch powder that have a lovely ranch flavor to them. And then, last but definitely not least, we're gonna have, of course, gotta have something green, a little bit healthy. We've got our garden salad full of cucumbers, red onions, sweet peppers, tomatoes, and things. And we're gonna top that with our homemade ranch dressing. And then, because I am a crazy ranch lover, I always put a little dollop of ranch for my fries to dip in. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to do live cooking shows every single day, kind of show you what we're making for our family and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page. So if you ever want to recreate any of these recipes at home, you can just go to our page, search for what we made, and you can watch and cook along with us again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking gear and gadgets in it. So I've got my big baking sheets, my hex pad pans, my cutting boards, knives, all the different things I use in the kitchen I have in there for you guys to check out. But again, thank you so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe.